get the meeting together,
We'd
and
appreciate
if
that.
necessary, I'll ask the help of Mr. Van Oz, Mr. Budney, to, if we need to get a hold of the county commissioner. His name is Joe Palomero.
I talked to him.
We've talked to him.
And get a meeting together. Well, did he get a meeting together?
No.
Okay.
I just recently sent, a month and a half ago, a letter to Mark Abbo to appeal the decision that they denied our claim. Because when you stated that you can't touch that drain, that's their thing, and Chris Wojciechowicz all along has said that they own that drain, Grozio is responsible for maintaining it. When we came to the last meeting, you said, no way, we can't. They're responsible. So I sent a certified letter to Mark Abbo.
I don't know who he is.
He's the CFO of Wayne County. And they ignore us. That no one will.
We have never gotten
I mean, he's the chief financial officer of Wayne County?
Yes, he is. And we've never had a response from Wayne County in 287 days. Never. They won't call us back. I file an online claim, a road hazard claim, and they wait about a month and a half. They close it.
No response.
No response. So, I mean, I think, you can understand our frustration. I think it's like they think if they turn their head, we're going to go away. The problem is not going to go away.
I do now understand.
And it's going to get worse with the rains and the melting, and we see it already in our backyard.
Yeah, they had 5 inches of rain in Indiana about a week ago, so it can happen here.
Oh, sure.
It will happen here.
This Duke Hodges, does he work for the Director of Public Services for Wayne County?
Yes, he works.
Did Duke take over for, I'm trying to think of the, Lonnie?
No.
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 That's a completely separate division,
Yeah.
I think. We'll get on it. What I'm going to push for, and Lorinda, you have all their contact information?
Yes, I do.
Is to get a meeting set up by a week from this Friday. Not this Friday, but by a week from this Friday. We'll just set a time frame on it. I'll work towards that end, and we'll use our resources here so that we can bring a report back to this commission at our next meeting.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you're going through this. So.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that. So, you're welcome to stay for our exciting meeting here.
We'll catch it on cable.
Well, thank you for coming to our meeting.
Thank you. Everything you can do.
Next on the manager's report, Lorinda.
Update on the wastewater treatment repairs. Joe Keefe's going to give the update.
Okay, right across the list, elevator. They walked in here last Friday, right after we had got ready to send them a notice to terminate the job because of lack of response on their part. But they walked in Friday with a permit from the state in their hand, and they've started the work. So they did run into one snag, but it's early in that, and when I get more information, I'll have it for you. The automatic transfer switch job is done. That was complete, works just fine. And the air handling unit number 2, which is HVAC for the laboratory, that is done. They just have to do a test on the cooling part of it, and obviously you can't test that in the winter, so they've held on to the retainer, and as the weather warms up here, they'll come out and test the cooling part, and that job should be all done. So,
Joe, on the elevator, when do they expect to be done with it?
they were figuring 4 weeks, but what they found was they're cleaning the guide rails. They're heavily pitted and corroded in the lower levels of the plant, and they might have to be replaced. So we're going to kind of, the option we got right now is, I talked to Sahil today, they're going to send us a quote, but they also recommended, and I think we should do this too, is just call the state and have the state inspect them. Because what they're afraid of is, well, they'll do the job, and then the state will come in and say, those rails don't meet code anymore because they're too thin. or the pit makes it too thin.
And
So
when they were doing their estimate of the job,
nobody, it was not part of the specs at all.
How many reels are there?
There are 4 of them. I believe the ones I noticed that I was looking at today, there were 4 in like each of the corners. And they're the things that the brakes work on to stop, stop the car. The brackets that go in, they're in the cement, they're all corroded down in the lower levels. There's nothing left. Those have to be replaced also.
Wow.
And this is what, the workers found yesterday.
Yeah.
Who wrote the specs?
Detroit Elevator
Detroit Elevator wrote the specs?
wrote the specs. Well, Detroit Elevator gave us a proposal what it would take to modernize the thing, and then we gave those to Sahil, and those became the specs. So it probably wouldn't. They're thinking. Yeah, I actually did talk to Detroit Elevator today, and they were of the same thing. They said, the state, that's not something you normally would replace. Those are usually go in before the car goes in and there's anything else in that shaft. That's the first thing that goes in the shaft. But just due to the corrosive atmosphere down there, especially on the lower levels, they're quite corroded, and they're 50 years old.
So this is not something we would normally expect to find?
No.
Is this something, if we were to, any one of us called you and wanted to visit and look at it, we could see it, see something, or no?
Yeah.
You can get that? Okay. All right, well, do your due diligence and see what you can figure out on that.
Okay. Yeah, this all just cropped up today. So that's it for those projects. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, thank you, Joe. Lorinda?
Okay, under manager's report, update on the Park Lane, Lakewood, Balmoral, and Martin Lane improvements. I spoke with Bill Bettendorf today, and the Martin Lane water main, it's in. They were going to do the pressure testing today, and they'll be doing a vacuum test in the morning, and they have to do that 2 days in a row, 24 hours apart. They won't be able to move any of the equipment over to Balmoral, Lakewood, Balmoral area until the frost laws are off.
And when's that going to be?
The word is next Monday,
Okay.
so we'll see.
Question, so they haven't started Balmoral, they haven't started Park Lane.
Park Lane, yeah.
How does, I know there was concern with the contractor because of his, he was experienced but didn't have a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. How did the job go from the engineer standpoint?
They said it went nice and smooth.
All right, they really have Martin Lane dug up. Mm-hmm. If anybody's looked at it, it's off Manchester. A lot of dirt exposed. The homeowners, John, do you know, they've had access to their homes all the time?
Yes, sir.
Homeowners are satisfied? Okay.
No complaints.
happy to get it done.
Yes.
All right. Well, so that's a good report in a way. Yard waste?
The next one is yard waste started April the 1st. We have notices out on cable, on the web page and on cable. Residents are probably aware already that they have to place their compost in their yard waste. They can place it in a 35-gallon plastic or galvanized container. The receptacle should not weigh more than 50 pounds. They also can put them out in those special yard waste bags, the paper ones that you can pick up at the hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot. Make sure that it's clearly marked. And right now with the startup, it's been pretty heavy. And I've noticed that as I drove around today, I know a lot of people have been doing a lot of yard work. So keep putting those bags out. They'll keep collecting them.
I did,
Oh, I was just going to say, we got to really emphasize the 35-gallon container and the 50,
And the 50
pounds.
Right.
You know, that's for the safety of the guys picking it up, and we've run into problems before.
Yeah, they'll take the
over that,
container,
that they won't take it, and
And please make sure you don't put them in black plastic bags, because they'll look at them and they'll tag them. They're not going to pick them up.
have you had a lot of complaints about refuse collection?
No.
Debris left over?
No.
Well, yesterday was
Yesterday
no
was
judge.
pretty
My
windy.
collection day was yesterday, and with that wind, our neighbors, and my refuse cycle or bin was 2 doors away,
Oh, yeah.
and a piece of carpet I was going to throw out. How that got 2 doors away, I have no idea. But there was papers up and down the street. I mean, it looked like it didn't look good. But
Yeah.
that was the wind, obviously.
Yeah.
So-
You know, Waste Management did notify us that, due to the wind, it's not them stealing, the containers and things. Just to look 2 doors down, you might find it.
Right.
So,
Well, anyway, to those that had their collection day yesterday, Monday, please tidy up your neighborhoods because a lot of debris was floating around, probably unavoidable.
right. Okay, the next, under the manager's report, number 4, Dump the Junk, Find a Treasure. They'll be hosting this event April 26th and 27th at the DPS yard, and everybody knows we're located right next to the alpaca farm. Should it rain, they have a rain date of the following weekend. They're going to have dumpsters available for people to dispose of large furniture, large logs and shrubs, things that you normally can't put out at curbside. Also, this year, though, I guess they're still going to have another area dedicated for metal items. So if you have anything like that you want to get rid of, they'll take it. If you have something that's still gently used piece of furniture or a bike or other item, please bring it along so that somebody else might be able to find a good use for it. They will not handle any chemicals or oils, concrete, building materials, light bulbs, liquid paints, batteries, gas cylinders, engine or car parts, propane gas tanks, or any item containing Freon gas. And the hours of operation will be both on Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Stop by and say hello to Woody.
So this will be on cable. The
Yes.
notice will be on cable.
Yes, it's already on cable
And
and
you'll publish it in the.
it's already out.
Okay. Very good. Any questions? If not, we'll move on.
Okay, Wayne County, they are hosting their household hazardous waste collection event on May 3rd at the Wayne County Community College campus in Belleville, and that's located at 9555 Haggerty Road. They also, they will take household paints, stains and dyes, floor wax, floor care products, carpet cleaner, furniture polish, bathroom cleaners, and the list goes on. We have it posted on the web, and you can also go to the Wayne County website and click on the link for any of their household hazardous waste collection events. They also are having an electronics recycling. They'll be accepting computer CPUs, monitors, printers, scanners, keyboards, mice, cell phones, fax machines, copiers, and televisions. And this is open to Wayne County residents, and it's free.
Same day. Same day.
Same day.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on. Discussion items. I've been sending out some emails to you, members of the commission. The first item is the roads tour. We need to have our annual roads tour and look at projects for the upcoming year. And rather than just leave it open-ended, I checked with both Lorinda and Sohail about possible dates where what I'm proposing is that we'd have our tour like at 3 in the afternoon, assemble here, and then do our tour for a couple hours. Usually it takes not over 2 hours, and we would focus on areas we know need to be looked at, and then come back here and have a study session so we could develop our plan. With the idea that if we started at 3, we'd be done by 6:30. And so I threw out some dates. that both Sohail and Lorinda and I are all available, and we'll see how this works out to any of you. One is Monday, April 21st. One is Tuesday afternoon, the 29th, or one is Wednesday, the 30th. Looking for your comments.
I can't make the 21st, but the 29th would be the best for me. But I could make the 30th also.
Okay, Tuesday the 29th.
Unfortunately, 29th is the only date I'm available. 29th.
Is that your...
Yes.
Okay. There's two for the 29th. Joe?
I'm okay for the 29th.
John?
I'd like that.
You know, I don't have my book with me, so I'm not sure.
Woody, it's okay to come in and sit down.
Yeah. Phil?
I'm okay for the 29th or 30th. I can't do it the 21st.
Les?
29th, 30th, whatever.
Okay, Ted? Well, it looks like 29th it is. Okay?
As long as you're not going at 7 in the morning. Bill, 3 p.m.?
Yes, so let's plan on that and send out a reminder this week yet, Lorinda, to everybody, that it'll be April 29th at 3 in the afternoon. We'll meet here, assemble here, and we'll have the goal of getting done by 6:30 that day. Okay? So I appreciate that. Now, that was on page 29 in your packet. Attached to, well, let's see, am I jumping ahead here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a date selected. The next item is a memo I prepared. We had some good news. And the good news was that Wayne County, at a meeting we had last week, approved our use of chip seal and our specifications. So we had a good discussion with them. They also said that they would waive any inspection fees. So that also is what we expected them to do. And we've, through Sohail's good relationship with them, we think we have a plan where we won't be delayed in getting, once we get everything ready to go, the final documents, that we can move it through the county quickly. One observation that the county made was that they believed that Ferry Road had reached a point where it was so alligatored and so broken up that it might not be a suitable candidate for the chip seal. The other sections of road that we had talked about were Horse Mill and two sections of East River, one between Manchester and Grow, and the other between Ferry and Ferry and Macomb. Was it Grays or Macomb?
It was, yeah, Macomb.
So those still appear to be in good shape. Now, the problem with Ferry is it's always been very badly alligated, a lot of cracks and joint splits and so forth. But coming out of this winter, a lot of the joints have now moved, where the aggregate is loose, very loose, and a lot of areas are popping out. Little sections like this, maybe some 4-inch by 4-inch. Ron and I talked about it, and Ron suggested maybe we should have either Malcolm Smith look at it again, or maybe somebody from Monroe County. So, but Sohail has looked at it with his engineering staff. So we're going to look at that again. But when we go into our roads tour, one of the challenges we will have is the thought that we need to maybe consider a 4th mile if we finally determine that Ferry's not a candidate. I talked to the township manager. Dale suggested that he thought one candidate might be Bridge Road between Meridian and Park Lane. And I thought about Grow out here, but it doesn't look like it's in that bad a shape. So at any rate, that will be one of the challenges we'll have to come up with. And the bigger challenge, and all this stuff that I attached on to this item 29 I want you to save, is what we put together for a year ago, where we thought we might go to the voters with a request for a millage approval for water main improvements and road improvements in 2014. And I know, Woody, you're interested in this, and what we learned last year is that there are 4 renewals up in 2014 for police and other issues, and plus the schools, and so we were persuaded that we should try to develop a program for 2015. So that's currently where we're at. But frankly, I feel, and I said it in the note, that given the impact of this winter on our roads, I feel like we've lost ground if you look at some of the roads. So, so that's where we are with that. And so this page 29 through 42, you need to pull it out of your packets and bring it to the road tour meeting, okay? And also today, Lorinda, you want to explain what you just passed out to everybody?
Oh, sure. Today, Bill and I took a tour of the island, and we went along the primary roads, and we're putting a list together that I'm going to send to Wayne County with a letter, just to address some of the potholes, kind of help them out, show them some of the places. Now, I know along our journey today, we noticed that they have been in several areas already making repairs. West River was one. Also, Bellevue and some other areas. So we did manage to hit all the major roads in our tour today, and you see there, and hopefully the people at home can see on the map on display some of the highlighted areas. There's some potholes that need to be repaired. There's some road edging, and what else, Bill?
Well, that's it.
I think that's about it.
I mean, the thought here is to take an initiative action to say to the county, on our primary road system, these are areas that we feel need attention as soon as possible in terms of pothole and patching. Now, recognize they've already done a lot, because almost every road we've driven, they've done a lot. But frankly, if you look at East River and West River, they're a mess. And, I mean, really a mess.
Park Lane at Church is really bad there, too. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's on our list, John.
I see it. I mean, that's probably the worst one I've driven through on the island. The worst one off the island was in Trenton near the post office. That was terrible also.
Well, driving off the island, you can see the King and Allen Road and some of the others that are totally a mess as well. So the job is enormous. Woody, I know Jim told me you might want to speak about our roads tonight. I would welcome you up at this point to do just that.
While Woody's coming up, I'd just like to say that I think with our roads, as you know, the way the winter treated them this year, I think it's what makes our chip seal tests really so important, to show the people what can be done with that. So I think it's really important we find good roads that will showcase that.
1 second. I was in Hudsonville yesterday, and I got off of 196 on the Michigan Highway number 6, and it was chip sealed. Oh my God, was it beautiful. Couldn't believe it. I don't know how long it'll last, but it's wonderful the way it is. I don't know how long it's been done, but it was wonderful.
Now, Hudsonville is...
By Grand Rapids, west of Grand Rapids, southwest of Grand Rapids.
And the road you mentioned, is it a state highway?
Yeah, number 6. It runs off of...
Takes a lot of traffic at high speeds?
Yeah. It's not a two-lane road. It's a heavily traveled road.
Okay.
So I was impressed.
Woody?
Okay. Highland and Baramar. These go every year, go up, down. Maybe we can make an agreement with Wayne County if they could do the work and we could ship the material to them, and they could do a better job, because Les over here knows where all the dead bodies are on the road.
So what do you mean they go out?
They heave up, they come down. But John probably knows where all the dead bodies are.
Woody, are you talking at Meridian?
Meridian.
Okay, at Baramar and at Highland.
And Highland.
Okay.
They raise up every year, and this year was the worst. And if we could do a better job of repairing them, we won't have the problem. But you're going to have to dig down and do a better job than you did last year or the year before. Now, what system did they use on East River Road at Church Stout and Island. What material did they use to cover it up? Because that's the best I've seen Wayne County do in a long time.
Well, I don't know the aggregate, what it was.
You know what it is, John?
Well, Sohail could tell us, because he spec'd it out.
That's the best I've seen them do in a long time.
It lasted, it got through the winter all right. But there is that one patch that was done in the middle of
Well, yeah,
church.
I don't understand that at all, but...
Well, it was a water main break.
Water main break.
I know.
Yeah.
You know.
So they had to dig it up there, and
I know. I thought they didn't realize it was there before it happened, that we dug it up. And Wayne County dug it up and smoothed it over for us.
Wasn't leaking then.
Wasn't leaking? Okay. All right, so you guys are going to do your drive around. I think East River is hopeless.
It's in terrible shape.
No kidding.
And
It's
West-
terrible. I don't know what you're going to do to fix it.
Just as bad.
Well, what we proposed, what we talked about, I mentioned a couple sections of East River that aren't as bad. But if you go from Horse Mill to
Ferry.
Ferry, it's very bad.
It's a mess.
And it's not a candidate for chip seal. So what we talked,
Why isn't it a candidate?
it's too bad.
Too bad?
Yeah, too many severe cracks in it. The sub base is poor. The chip seal won't last long.
You don't have enough money to do East River.
Well, we're working on a plan, and I'd be glad to share it with you. And you're welcome to come to our study session we're going to have on the 29th. What we talked about doing for the couple miles is, number one, the water main has to be replaced before we do anything. But as far as the road, what we're talking about is what everybody calls mill and fill, where they come in and they mill off the road 3 inches or so, and come back and then cover it with 4 inches of asphalt in 2 lifts. So you're going to mill off. And there'll be many base repairs too, many sections that are just going to have to come out, particularly in the west lane. You know, the west lane is much worse than the east lane. When I say the west lane, the southbound lane is in much worse shape than the.
Because they repaired that several times ago. A foreman was really good to the island. He came out a lot and he fixed a lot of it, but it's all starting to pop again.
It's terrible. And so, our plan is to do the mill and fill, but what we might end up doing, and I don't know what's underneath or the thickness of the pavement, we haven't engineered it yet, we may end up just removing the whole pavement and putting something brand new down, which we'd be talking
big money.
We're talking $500,000 a mile.
$500,000 a mile?
Yeah.
Ain't going to happen.
Well, we're going to have to go to the voters and request some money.
Woody, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to ask Wayne County if we get a bond issue approved for part of it. My thought is we ask them on East River and on Meridian, which are both eligible in the federal highway program, to let's say we get a bond issue approved in 2015. And we intend to go back to them. We told the county we're going to come back to them this year and tell them what our plan is. We can't develop a plan without them being engaged in it. That we would ask them to support us by allocating some of the 80% money they use around the county for resurfacing to East River and to Meridian. And they may just apply 50%, but we got to ask. We got to try to ask and see what they'll do for us.
How much money are we digging up through the whole county?
I know it's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, we're not the only ones that look like crap out there. There are other.
Well, one thing that's changed, and I'll tell everybody this right now, the one thing that's changed, which is positive, is that, the county publishes, now it's a 4-year program, it's called the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. You familiar with that?
Nope.
Ted, you are familiar with that? Jim? All right, so the county has and this is by federal law, so SEMCOG actually publishes it. And SEMCOG includes 7 counties, but every county gets a number of millions of dollars a year for resurfacing. Wayne County gets about $20 million a year for resurfacing. Now, $20 million a year, if you do Ford Road, a couple miles, doesn't go very far. They did Allen Road last year. They've done Pennsylvania, done other roads with it. So, but at any rate, they rate all the roads, they're asphalt roads, based on, they call it a needs list. And for 2014, now this was published in 2013, we were 75th on the list, and the project is this. Well, they were going to do 20 or close to 30 of the projects last year. Now, I don't know when they would do the next group, or where the 75 could change based on the rating of other roads, but the section of Meridian between Parkway, Grosse Ile Parkway, and Church, which is 1.75 miles. So we're talking Meridian Road between Grosse Ile Parkway and Church is 1.75 miles. They've rated it. That would be scheduled for 2015. Now that could change, but it's on their list.
I'd rather see East River done.
Well, it's their rating, so they don't have East River probably rates 200 or something on their list, and a lot of it has to do with volumes of traffic.
Okay, Meridian, could you do a patch job from Island to Ferry, about 3 feet out from the south side, going south, bringing it 3 feet around the corner of West Shore Golf Course?
You're talking West River Road.
No, I'm talking Meridian. Meridian from Island.
Oh, on the west side where it's really deteriorated?
Yeah, really bad.
Well, they've got this project scheduled.
They do?
Well, it's 75th on their needs list.
75th, okay. Well, we won't see it this year. And
we won't see it this year.
Next year.
And that's on this list that we did today. Ask them to do more patching there.
No, they're really good at patching. They are. They do come over here a lot, more than.
I'll tell you what. We're working on a plan, and you're welcome to come to our meeting.
Okay, when is it?
The 29th.
Will Wayne County be there too?
No, not at this one. But what we come out of with it, we're going to take to them. Excuse me. So let's see. We're going to do the roads tour at 3. We should be back here by 4:30 or 5.
And what's that? For the meeting ends the 29th, you're going to be here at 5 o'clock?
4:30 or 5 to have a study session.
What is that day? Is that on?
It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah. Lorindo, get you the
29th.
info.
Okay. All right, try to make it.
One of the reasons that we're looking at, or going to be doing the chip sealing is because it's just a very, very small fraction of the cost of re-asphalting.
Sure.
And we have to get to these roads, though, before they deteriorate too much. And
They're there.
the chip sealing is done all around the state and other states also. About the only county that doesn't do it is Wayne.
Why?
That's a very good question, sir. Don't have an answer for you. And so our thought is to do some of this and see how it's working with what we have in our budget to do, and get everybody's opinions of it and thoughts of it. Maybe we can even use that to say, maybe we can do more of this if we can sometime in the future do a
What's the
bond
cost
issue.
per mile? How much per mile?
75,000.
Well, we were talking a double chip seal. We were talking 60,000.
$60,000 a mile.
Right.
Versus 500.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So this is done all over, just as Jim was saying. He was over in the west side of the state, and some major roads that get a lot of traffic, and it looks very nice. We went down to Monroe County Road Commission.
How was that?
Talked with them, and they use it all the time, and they're just big fans of it.
What road did they do it on?
Oh my goodness, they've done many of them.
They do 80 miles.
Right by the club there,
Yeah.
the country club down there.
Yeah.
They do it there, and you can see it. It really works.
Yeah, they said they have about 85 miles of
How about
road that
Stern?
they
Did they do Stern?
I'm not
That's one at the
familiar.
south end?
I'm not familiar with that.
But the point is, that this is a very good thing for us to look at, and we thought this year if we can start with 4 miles possibly of doing this and see how it works, see if we can get other people on board with the whole idea of expanding that before the rest of the roads deteriorate to the point you can't do that.
So it's 60,000 every mile, every 2 miles?
Mile.
A
Every
mile.
mile. So you're talking
Versus 500,000.
You're talking 240,000 for 4 miles.
240,000.
Right.
And you can do that when?
July and August is the only time.
Of this year?
Yeah.
We picked areas different areas, so people could get a handle on.
And we're going to settle all that at our next meeting, but we're going to discuss it at that study session.
And the ones that we're choosing, some people say, oh my gosh, why are you doing there? And this one over here is so much worse. Well, the reason we can't do those other ones because they're too worse.
2 birds, yeah.
Yeah. So we've
Well, I
got-
hope it's done by the road that's bad, not by political.
Well, I certainly hope so.
We haven't entered into any politics on this one. We've selected roads.
It's having politics.
But I just want you to know, we selected roads that we thought were highly visible. First of all, we started with Ferry, school bus route and everything, but it's questionable at this point. But the others are a section of East River between Grow and Manchester, because there are a lot of cars travel it. And then the other...
Manchester.
Grow and Manchester.
On East River?
East River, yeah. The other section is East River between, from Macomb, past the junior high school to Ferry.
That's a pretty good road there, so it's not all messed up.
It's not as bad as the other section. We thought we'd save it by doing that. And then we selected Horse Mill.
What's wrong with Horse Mill?
No, it's
Well, it needs attention.
again, it's not totally crumbling, but it's desperately in need of repair, but it's still to the point where it can be salvaged. At least the people that have looked at it have told us it can be salvaged with chip sealing. So that's a requirement. It's not a matter of...
You can't compare that with East River, because East River's a mess.
Well, again, East River's out of the question for a whole variety of reasons.
So you're doing plus because you got a better chance at it.
Well, plus the fact that we want to spread it out around the island so that a lot of people drive on it and get to see what we're doing.
You're not just political.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So since you raised the subject, I did want to mention, we do have to, when we talk, we're going to have a public relations campaign. There's got to be time for every area that's going to be done, we need to highlight it. We need to let the property owners that abut the road know what's going to happen, because when it's laid down, they do one lane at a time with this slurry seal, and then they bring the chips and roll it. So for a couple hours, people can't drive on that lane when it's applied. And then they'll redo it the next day if we do a double chip seal. So we need to let people know. The other thing that we need to figure out, and I only raise this because you're here, Ted and Jim, is that we were told by the contractors last year that one key to this is we have to have a place for contractors to mobilize. In other words, they're going to have to bring their equipment in and on the island and leave it here. Sure. And then bring the chips in advance and the other supplies they need. But the big is the chips. The one area that before we lost Barry, last year he had talked to some of us about at the DPW yard, between there, right after the fence on the south side of DPW yard, there's just a mess of weeds and piles of whatever there. Right, John? Did Barry ever mention to you about bulldozing that area, cleaning it up? And my thought is that might be a very suitable area for the mobilization.
As soon as we haul out all the spoils from the winter, as soon as the frost laws come off, there's plenty of room back there. I don't know what kind of base material they would need to dump that on, but there's plenty of room.
I think, my idea is if you bring a dozer in there, we'd have to hire a dozer, clean that area up, level it off, and then that's what he wanted to do anyway.
Ted, excuse me, but I'm not sure that that's DPW area behind that fence. I thought that was airport.
It is.
I mean, not, and so we should have to work with it.
Trust me, there'll be no problem furnishing space to mobilize.
Yeah.
There will be no problem.
Well, I mention it because it's an issue we have to resolve as we go forward.
Well, consider it resolved. We'll find a place to
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Woody. Okay, any more comments about what we're going to do for roads? All right. And the idea of this map, Lorinda this week is going to send it to the county Sibley yard and say these are additional areas that we request as soon as possible that you do pothole repairs. Now, I have to tell you, just one sidebar, West River Road is truly a mess. Now, they've done a lot of patching on it. If you drive it today, well, before it snows, but if you drive it, they've done a ton of patching on it. It's still a mess. And, of course, we don't have an easy answer for that section of road, but I don't think we can forget it.
It's pretty tough. If the car comes the other way when you're going down there, you might have to...
You have to stop.
Stop and slide over a little bit to let the car kind of go down the middle because it's that bad on the edge.
Well, we had to do that a couple times today.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Storm sewer cleaning and TV inspection. Lorinda, the Rains recommendation for additional work. This is on page 44 of your report. Lorinda?
Yes, we received a letter from Rains for additional services for the cleaning and TVing. Let's see. They requested Deutsche Services will clean the storm sewers and culverts outside the original scope of work. It includes the culvert along West River Road, south of Riverview Court, and other culverts as directed by the township. Their quotes for 8 hours of cleaning and disposal. During the televising and the inspection of the existing storm sewers, they found that the large concrete vault located on the airport property has a 36-inch steel elbow trap outlet. To avoid this trap becoming plugged with sediment in the future, they're recommending that the steel elbow be cut and removed flush to the exterior wall. Campo Brothers has provided a quote to cut and remove the elbow, including confined space entry, bulkheading, and pumping out of the vault. And they estimate 2 days to complete that work. So the additional services for the first one is for $34.75. The second one is for $4,759 for a total of $8,234. And we do have an action item later on for this.
Lorinda, where did this come from? I mean, what brought it about? I understand
That's
number
from,
2, I understand. Where did number 1 come from? Because this started with the Rucker Road and
that started with the Rucker Road and you know, all the cleaning and TV, and they did
Right.
that. But we also had some additional areas that needed to be looked at,
so we just
and so we added that on.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Miranda, explain the last paragraph in this.
Please note that the original contract
Yeah, the last paragraph.
and the closed circuit televising of the existing storm sewer. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, there was that was the amount that was left over from the original. There's money left over to do this from the original quote.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're not asking for an add to the contract. There's actually more money left for this contract.
Right,
You
but
just want to redirect it? Is that what-
Redirect it to this, right, and there's an action item later on for that.
And make sure that it's stated that way in the action item?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, Lorinda, I don't see an action item on it.
Oh, maybe I didn't know. No, we talked about adding it, and we didn't add it.
Well, I think we should proceed with the work. It's a little bit out of order, but the chair would entertain a motion to authorize the additional work to be done, given the fact that it's within the $90-some thousand amount they originally approved for this cleaning.
To redirect.
So the chair would entertain a motion to authorize Rains Engineering to work with the contractor to proceed with the work.
So moved.
Who did it first? Jim? Okay.
Moved by Budney, supported by Nelson.
Okay, we can do it that way.
I have a question.
Nelson.
Okay, Les.
These culverts that you're cleaning on West River Road and Riverview Court, those are all county, aren't they? Why are we doing the county's work?
The first one that you're going to clean is the one that's underneath the second driveway. It got filled with stone from a water main break caused a flooding issue. And then any other ones that we deem necessary at the time, because they have 8-hour minimum.
I can't answer your question, Les. John, you're saying that water main break caused one of the culverts to be overloaded with stone.
And our equipment's not large enough to handle it, so they're going to do it for us.
Do you have a problem with that, Les?
No.
Okay.
I just want
Good question. Sure. Good question. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of authorizing this additional work to be done indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're proceeding
Is
with
that
that.
number 1 or number 2?
It's both items. Both items together last total
Number
8,200.
2 go out for bid?
No, we're adding it on to their
Adding it
contract.
on.
To Deutsche's contract?
No, number 2, Campo's doing number 2.
I'm
Deutsch is
sorry.
doing number 1.
Are they going to be working for Deutsch?
No, probably not. I didn't, the chair stands corrected on that.
No, they only had one.
Well, we got to...
Well, normally they have anything over $3,000 goes out for bid. I know when I was the interim manager, we went out for bid, had to go out for bid on all this stuff.
Les, let me check with Sohail, and I'll let you know.
All right.
What are you going to check?
To see if he received 2 quotes, or if it's just the one.
All right. So what we've done is authorized Deutsch to do the cleaning on number 1. Number 2 is if it doesn't follow the right procedures, then we will bring that item back.
Okay.
Okay.
And if it does, we're going to go forward with it.
Okay.
Correct?
Yep. Okay. Joe, sludge tank cleaning at the wastewater plant?
As you know, most of you should be aware, we, in an emergency, got rid of 100,000 gallons of sludge last week. And they ran into some issues with rags. And what we call rags are conglomerations of so-called flushables that people flush down the toilets, like the wipes that you pop off the end of a little stick.
Baby wipes.
Baby wipes, another one. And feminine products, they turn into these long globs of string, long, 8 feet long, some of them, after going through all the processes at the plant when they get through. And so little pieces grow into big, giant pieces. And they plugged pumps and gave us a lot of fits at the, when we had the sludge, we plugged the truck up and we plugged the pump up with this stuff. And the tank's been there for 15 years. We've been using it for 15 years. We have not done a thorough cleaning of it. And the contractor is actually a little nervous about what they might get when we take 500,000 gallons out in a few weeks. So they have to get it out anyway to do the cleaning. But I just wanted to bring it up that I'm going to get a quote, find out, after we get this thing pumped down, before we put too much in it. So there's going to be a short window to work with here. But I want to get a quote from these guys to see what it'll take to get this stuff out. But until I get it pumped down, they got to take a look to even give me an estimate, because it's all confined space work, and you can't just land apply this stuff. You have to, these big rags that they get out are going to have to be landfilled.
Well, they're removed by hand, is that right?
Well, by hand or mechanical stuff, but yeah.
All right. Joe, what happened last year when they emptied the tank? I mean, this hasn't come up before?
Sometimes it happens, but usually, when you're land applying it and your truck plugs up out at the field, I don't know what they do, but it can probably be plowed under.
But we haven't run into it here previously.
No. And this was a whole different case of, taking it to another facility.
Right.
Where if you had a spill, they had to bring the pump back here to our facility to tear it apart to clean the rags out in case there was a spill, because South Young Valley didn't want to be responsible for any mess like that. So it's just one of the things we ran into, added a bit of time to the project, and it's just...
Well, I thought this winter with all the snow, you couldn't do any application, you couldn't truck it out.
You couldn't, no.
And so that you had a problem with the sludge storage.
We did. That's why we took the 100,000 out, because we ran out of room, and we just bought ourselves another month and a half to get to where we can land.
So the problem you're going to have with the sludge is once you take it all out, this other 500,000 gallons, once it's removed, it's going to start filling up again. And
right.
You're going to have a short window.
The short window before we start filling it up again.
To clean it.
Yes.
What companies clean sludge tanks around?
Usually your biosolids companies, so we're using Biotech Agronomics right now. Synagro is...
You're going to have to award a contract to one of them
Yes.
to clean it. So how's that going to work in terms of getting through us and getting through the township board in terms of your timing? You're going to have to get the approval first.
Right.
So when the days come right, you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So when's this, in your mind, going to happen?
Well, probably, thinking logistically here, if we pull out and get our sludge out and get an inspection done, after we get the sludge hauled out here next few weeks, hopefully, we'll do an inspection. I can probably get a better idea of an estimate, and then we'll push this off till the fall haul and do it after the fall haul. Might be the best way. That way, to get everybody on board.
All right, so you do an inspection, let it fill up again over the summer, then when you do your removal in the fall, you'll be ready to go. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sound good?
We have anything else? Any questions on this sludge?
Is there nozzles down in that tank?
No.
No?
No, the pumps that they use have nozzles so that they can mix. They swivel around and they can mix up the tank, and that's basically how we've kept it clean, is by blasting the corners and as they called it today, macerating these blobs that tend to grow.
I would think that most of these pump-out companies would be using maceration pumps.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe since we have so much focus on this and so a considerable amount in the budget, next year's budget, at the plant, I wonder, were you going to attend our May meeting?
I think so, yeah.
I wonder if we shouldn't have a field trip for those that want to go over to the plant just before our May meeting. Well, seriously, no, seriously, just all right. Or people can go on their own, but
yeah, really, what works best is if anybody wants to come down, as most of you have.
Well, we have the elevator issue that people might want to look at.
The elevator, that's another one you might
We're talking a lot of money. We're talking the sludge removal. We're talking the other improvements you got going. Anyway, so these are all.
Maybe that would be a field trip.
We can always offer and
see who shows.
See who would like to.
Who has a strong stomach.
Well, it's something that we're responsible for operating, and it's important. So
yes, it is. It's
so things overall are going pretty well there with all the improvements we've made.
Yep, and we've had a good spring. We
knock on wood.
Lost all that snow melted, and we did not go out of the basin.
Well, we haven't had a huge rain either, so
we've had a lucky thing, and that's also playing a good role into probably getting our sludge to the field soon, because the sooner they dry out, the sooner we can, and we have to race, as I explained to Jim a couple weeks ago, we have to race with the farmer before they put their crop in. But
is this going to Canada, or is it still going to Monroe?
The sludge?
Yeah.
Lately it's been going right over off South Yarn River Drive. But we've got fields on Sigler Road. A friend of mine farms 500 acres. He just took it over from his dad down in Luna Pier, and that actually is a little better draining soil down there. So he's interested in it, and if we got 500 acres added to our program, that would make us a lot.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much for your report. Action items. Lorinda, item number 1.
First one is for the pressure reducing valves, bid award recommendation. If you remember, the commission reviewed the bids back in February, and after a lot of discussion, they formed a PRV subcommittee to determine if they needed to be rehabbed or replaced. So they, after a lot of discussion, they decided that rehabbing was not going to be a practical option. It didn't address any of the concerns raised by staff on the corrosion of the vault itself or the corrosion of the PRVs and the valves. Plus, the vault was always underwater. So the benefits of going with the The alternate ad would provide the township with a new vault, longer lifespan, and it would be waterproofed. And also, they added a valve located outside the vault to isolate it for future maintenance. Now, based upon that discussion and based upon the email that I sent out to everybody was in agreement to forward this, so for timing-wise, so we went ahead and we sent it to the Township Board, and they graciously approved it, contingent on your approval tonight.
Okay. Now,
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
There was a motion to approve it. Now, you did have a subcommittee, and any of the
We
subcommittee...
approved it at that subcommittee.
Does anybody on the subcommittee want to speak to it additionally or not?
I just want to emphasize that we probably went in thinking rehab and came out the biggest thing was the rehab didn't give us much of a longer life, and so although it was cheaper, we'd be doing it in say 5 to 10 years, we'd be replacing it again. So once you did it twice, you were way over doing it once, buying it new. So that kind of, I think, is what threw us into it.
Okay, and I'm all in favor of doing this. I think we should do it the right way, get it fixed. I mean, it's something we won't do for another 30, 40 years.
Do you want me to read the motion?
Everybody's got the motion in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to, I did a little analysis as a sidebar. A couple items from now on the agenda, we're going to be asked to increase water and sewer rates for this fiscal year in accordance with what's been budgeted. And I know we're always concerned about that. I did a little analysis looking at the township's overall budget, which I have a copy of here. And I just want to give you an example. Essentially, as far as the water operating fund is concerned, when we do the pressure-reducing valves project, I mean, we're out of money. We're out of capital money. We spent all our capital money that was available. I mean, our free money that we derive every year in the water fund, we're spending on the 3 water main improvements that we did this year: Martin Court, Park Lane, Balmoral. So we really don't have any extra money laying around in the operating fund or capital fund for water at this point. And just by way of example, because it may come up, and I just want to mention it to you, that if we do the rate increase as recommended, which is about 10%, it raises $323,000. The budget for the PRV valve is $280,000. If we didn't do the PRV valve, we wouldn't have to do the water rate increase. I mean, but at the same time, we need to have money for capital every year to make some of these small improvements. So I just point that out, that that's how critical it is. So I know we've cut staff to the bone already in the water department, sewer department. So we need to proceed with some of these things. And I was trying to make a correlation in my head. Just what is the implication of the rate increase mean to what we're doing? And what we're doing is we wouldn't be able to do any capital improvements if we don't do the rate increase. And that's my point. Is everybody? And I'm all in favor of doing it. So I just wanted to make that correlation. So, so we've had a report, comments. All in favor of moving forward with the PRV valve, awarding the contract to the lowest bidder in the amount of $241,380. Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item, dust control.
Okay. Action item number 2. Before you have an action item for dust control for contract extension, I contacted D&D Emulsions, and they agreed to, again, hold their prices from 2012 for the 2014 season at the rate of 58 cents a gallon applied.
So each application totals around $36,000?
That was last year's, yes.
All right, so we have a report. You can have a motion.
So moved. Moved to recommend the Township Board extend the 2012 contract of D&D Emulsion for dust control for the 2014 season at the rate of 58 cents per gallon applied.
I'll second that.
The second was from Schmidtke. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I would just ask Lorinda, try to do everything you can to just do one application.
Okay, I'll
At
try.
$30-some thousand an application.
I'll try.
A few years ago, we had to do two. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can avoid that. Last year it was pretty wet, so we got by.
And the year
Problem
before,
is sometimes this breaks up and it gets pretty dusty and they got to do the second one.
I know, but it's going to hurt our budget real bad if we...
Yeah, I know it.
Next item is consideration of water and sewer rates. Lorinda?
okay, the next action item. We have a motion to recommend to the Township Board to authorize adjustment to the water and sewer rates of 10% per quarter as displayed on the Finance Director's water bill comparison effective April 1st, 2014. Oh, excuse me, 2014. The increase imposed on us by the City of Detroit was 11.3% over last year. And the water and sewer rates are adjusted to cover operation and maintenance of our water distribution system, operations over at the wastewater treatment plant, bond payments that we have, equipment purchases, and capital improvements. Water rates would go from $8.09 a thousand gallons to $9.15. Sewer rates would go from $3.12 to $3.60 per thousand gallons. The average household uses approximately 25,000 gallons per quarter, which would reflect an increase of about $38.50 a quarter.
Okay, can we have a motion to get this on the table?
So moved.
Is there support? It's moved and supported that we approve the water sewer rate increases as recommended by the township staff. Discussion. No discussion? You have a...
Just, anybody watching and residents, when they see this, are going to go, there they go again. But it's just in order to keep pace with everything, we need these increase, and this is a minimal. This was figured out to be the smallest increase we could go for and still do what we need to do. So that's it's much akin to looking at the roads and everything else. We see all the water main breaks that we have. All these things, it takes money to fix them. And as it costs us more to do things, costs us more to get water. We have to have this extra money to be able to continue to do at least the bare minimum.
And Detroit's rate was 11.3%.
Right.
Lorinda, I did ask you, how many water main breaks have we had so far this year?
So far this year, we've had 29. And I brought the map.
It's almost 10 a month.
Since January 1st.
It's almost 10 a month, and that's almost one every
You wanna
third
see the
day.
map? No, you can see the concentrated areas.
Can you show us, please?
Sure.
I hope in my lifetime that
Which areas?
we get Detroit to do the right thing. I don't know if a regional authority is the answer, but, can you trust anybody down there that are actually doing the right thing for our water? I hope.
I assume you're kind of dropping that tape. In the state of affairs, the current state of affairs in Detroit, water and sewer are terrible at best. And the agreement they're going to have trouble reaching with a unit water authority with the three major counties. If they go county, I'm not sure they'll ever get a water authority per county. Now, they may get it for communities, but that creates a nightmare in itself because there's 100 of them or close to 100 of them. So it's going to be kind of difficult to pull all of that together. But the reality is that without a water authority, keeping it in the hands of the Detroit system itself, which is, we'll call it damaged, broken, there's no light at the tunnel. At least to change to a water authority or something of that type, some operation of that type, put some new heads on it, put some new eyes on it, put some new controls in it, perhaps. In my estimation, we need to unify that somehow.
Well, until 2 or 3 years ago, that there was a suburban person sitting on the board.
Well, it's going to be really important who gets appointed to the water authority throughout these counties. I mean,
check and balance.
If it's going to be legal representation only, it's not going to solve the issues. You need a mix. You need the legal, you need the financial, and you need the technical people on this authority that can probably throw out the ideas. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, it will never see relief until they do basically the same. This is my personal opinion. They do the same thing with the water piping infrastructure that they do with the electrical lines, and allow access to multiple communities, to encourage communities like Grosse Ile, like Trenton, like Riverview, like Gibraltar, to generate their own water and be able to sell it back to and lease the lines as far as operationally, so that we don't run into these stalemates where we have to run 200 miles of pipe to do our own system. It just doesn't make any sense. But do I see that coming? I have no idea. I don't know where it's going to go from here.
Well, just a couple, the breakaway from the Flint, Genesee County area, they're going to run 100 mile of pipe to break away from the system.
That was on the radio today.
And the suburban representatives that sat on the board in prior years were always appointed by the mayor of Detroit.
There you go.
And I knew one years ago who was a city manager of, well, anyway, he was. My third comment is what I read in the paper this weekend. If I read it right, I think Macomb County Executive Hackle was upset with the proposal of Mr. Orr because the amount that Detroit had contributed to the pensions for DWSD employees was insufficient, and I think he said he had to raise it 4 to 6 times.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and plus,
Are you aware of that?
And plus, if it goes to a water authority, they're going to require the water authorities to pay rent to Detroit or some kind of a lease option to Detroit. And I don't know how they're going to reach that number.
I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks. It's not the regional authority is good in thought. The problem is Detroit wants all the income and wants to leave the authority with all the debt. They're saying, gosh, with all that we have to do with this system, we need the money to put it in there, not to fill Detroit's pockets. So until they can figure that out, they're going to be banging heads. However, I don't think we want it to go to a private, a private company because
okay. John, just real quickly, can you just tell us? I don't know what all the colors mean. Tell us 1 or 2 areas of concentration of main breaks.
Meridian Road, there was a lot of main breaks this winter on Meridian Road, as well as West River Road.
Meridian between
Church and Grove.
Between Church and Grove.
We had 5 between Grove and Manchester.
And then on West River, a lot of them?
Yes. And like we're in the city, we had 30 since the beginning of the year. The prior year before that, we only had 25 the entire year.
So we had 30 in the first 3 months and 25 all last year.
Well, of course, the winter was cold, but still,
some spots 3 feet of frost.
And if you recall, last meeting we had in February, Fire Chief was in, and he emphasized in his letter that he hoped we'd address the water main improvements on East River and West River, and we haven't even talked about West River. So we will be.
Everybody know we did have a leak detection survey done in the last week, and we found a few leaks, which we repaired the last one today. There's a couple of real small minor leaks that are out there that we're going to get to. But other than that, the system's in good shape.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, John. You can take that map down now. You're blocking our camera. Okay, so we have a motion. We've had some discussion. Are we ready to take a vote on the water and sewer rate increase? Hearing no objection, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The water and sewer rate increases for next budget year are approved. Item number 4, air compressor purchase.
You want to do this one? Okay.
The air compressor purchase is a replacement for the existing one that's in the DPS building. It's currently 16 years old. It had an issue back in early October of 2013. We received a quote to repair it. It was $1,900. So at the time, we decided to go ahead and request quotes for replacements. Atlas Copco came in with the cheapest bid, as you can see in your package, and it was also very highly recommended by Barry at the time.
Okay. Are there any, well, let's have a motion to get it on the table.
I make a motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported that we consider purchase of one Atlas Copco tank-mounted reciprocating compressor in the amount of $2,434. Any discussion?
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The specifications on that compressor weren't listed as far as CFM. Is it comparable to the other two? They were...
Yeah, we have, Luna has it over here, like video, but they're all...
No, they were all the same. Thank you.
The other cheapest bid was like $300 off. It's all the same specs.
One other question. What do you use it for?
Air tools, cleaning all our air filters on the mowers and things like that.
Just kind of shop air, is that what we're talking about?
And we also share it with the airport as well.
Okay.
John, it says in here installation is not included.
That was the electrical part of it. They set it up, and we have to get Barry Dixon to make the connection.
Okay.
Good questions. Are there any others? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We purchased the compressor.
Thank you.
Next item, wastewater treatment plant generator repairs.
Last action item. We have a motion to approve the generator repairs at the wastewater treatment plant. Joe can speak more about it if he wants to, but the unit is in need of periodic maintenance to maintain optimal operating condition. And they performed a load test in February, indicated that as more load was applied, the hertz frequency dropped down below 60, and some of the fuel lines are still part of the original. So the quote addresses all of these issues.
Is this a stationary generator, Joe?
Would you come up to the mic, Joe? It looks like we just have one price from one company.
Right, this is the company that currently services the unit.
All right. So it's a sole provider, and the price is $2,212.39. If there's no further discussion or questions, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to go ahead and get it fixed.
Support.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now I have. Did we talk about this before? Yeah.
There's no public left in the room. Chairman's report. I already made my comments about our study session, and what I hope to come out of that meeting is that we have a plan of some sort, like we've been working on, where we can schedule water main improvements, schedule a bond issue, request for roads and water main improvements, and we may have to work on it again at our May meeting, that we can take either June or July to the Township Board and ask them to reserve time for us on a ballot in 2015. Working with a couple other communities in the metro area, some very big communities, the roads are falling apart. One I know of, population 80+ thousand, they're talking about moving forward as quickly as they can with a major road bond issue because their roads are so bad. And this just started 2 weeks ago. And they hope to go to the voters in August with asking for multi-millage requests for roads. And I just want to distribute something here, and then I'll be done. John, there's 4 of them, I think. There's one for you, John. And these go the other way. 3. 1 for John and Lorinda to share. You know, I like to read things. I picked this up off the Municipal League website, and it's a lengthier report, but You know, in case citizens ask if we are smoking Dixie all the time, this was prepared by Hillsdale College, which, as you know, is a very conservative college, especially when it comes to taxes and so forth. I've heard Gary Wolfram, the doctor of economics from Hillsdale, speak before on taxation policy. He's written a paper that, and it's many pages long, probably 15, but I selected this one about the gas tax revenue. And did you get one of these, Ted?
I don't. That's okay.
Didn't I pass enough out for everybody?
No.
I think I gave you 4. Here, John. Here's one. I'll wait till Ted gets it. But the second page struck me as very interesting. You know, I've always been talking about the fact that the gas tax that's distributed to county road commissions, cities, and MDOT is declining. Well, this says local units of government are able to maintain their roads through the distribution of the gasoline tax that is collected statewide. These distributions are made under Act 51. The decline in gas tax revenue noted on Attachment 3 has led to problems with local road maintenance. Now he goes on to talk about the City of Hillsdale. The City of Hillsdale is receiving less money for roads than it did a decade ago. Again, in nominal dollars. This can be seen in Table 2. The city's Act 51 monies peaked in 2004 at $604,000 and declined to $529,000 in 2010. You look at the graph, what the MDOT would tell you is that from the year 2000, on average, the gas tax receipts have dropped 1.5%. But what's interesting about this chart, it shows you in the blue, the dark blue, is the buying power. So you see what it really means is that if the state was getting $950 million to distribute, that's almost $1 billion a year. The buying power is down to below $650,000 based on the cost of doing business. That's dramatic. So when Wayne County or other counties say they don't have money to do what they used to be able to do, it's very true. And when we talk about an initiative on our own to have to jump up to do things, I think we're being realistic. So I want you to have that, okay? And the chairman is done for tonight. So we'll go around the table to see if any commissioners have anything. Ted, anything to add?
I have nothing.
Les?
We got a couple things. Last Tuesday, John and I went to a seminar, and what you were talking about was Genesee County, well, the city of Flint is getting off the Detroit water system. They're putting their own line in from Lake Huron. They already got the crib bored out in under the lake, and they're putting this line in. They talked about what, 20 years ago, John? Now they're finally doing it, and they're cutting off the city of Detroit's water and going back to their own filter plant. The other thing that I want to talk about was, I remember that you mentioned to me, Bill, about talking to a couple of these other townships, and you asked them if they give money to the county for this super service. And
for snow removal.
They said no.
Right.
Well, I don't think we should be paying the county anymore. I think we should take that out of our budget, tell them we're broke and can't afford to give it to them anymore, because they didn't give us very super service.
Well, that's a good point. It's something that we ought to consider. I would like,
how this started,
before we say no, we need to know how that's going to hurt us. But
how this started was I was on the road committee many years ago, and that's when a couple of the people that were really close were the people that were working close with the county. And this came up to give them money to get this super service. Well, it never really did come out that we're getting this super service, because when you got a major snowstorm, you don't see the county. You might see them the next day. The super service that we got was with the DPW trucks and with outside contractors. Mm-hmm. And I feel that money can be better used here in our township instead of subsidizing the county.
I don't disagree with you, but I think we have to find out what are the consequences before we just take it out. So a little more investigation, but I think it's a good point to keep on our table. Anything else?
No, I stirred up enough.
Phil?
I would just have one question, Mr. Chairman. Do you know how much money extra we pay a year to Wayne County for this?
Last year was about $32,000.
It's Phil, it's based on the prior years. So I imagine the amount that we'll see this year will be quite high because of last year's heavy snow. Vice versa, if it was a real light snow and they didn't come out much, it'd be real low. So it's always based on the prior years. But yeah, it's probably been around 30, somewhere between 30 and 40.
Thank you. I have no other comment.
I wonder who decides that, Jim, do you know? Who decides the number?
Yeah, Wayne County.
No, but when I hear Wayne County, I don't like the answer. With all due respect to you, because there's a guy that punches the button and says it's this much.
I believe it's based on the hours spent plowing snow. That's what they go on.
But if we knew who the guy was, we could really talk to the guy and say, you know, it's a funny thing happened in 2014, 2013. We got a record snowfall. So your formula is already grasping us unfairly. And if, from what I heard someone say, I believe, that we're the only community that pays for super service, then somehow my computer's not Canuting. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So can we find out who that person is that makes the magic number?
I would think we could.
I think we should.
Okay, I think we should put that on our agenda, Linda, the things to do. Now, what happened is, out of concern for that, I called Canton Township and Brownstown Township and Huron Township, and none of them were aware that they made any extra payments. Now, I'm talking to DPW people, and then they were talking to their finance people. And I asked the question, do you pay for supplemental work? And the answer was no. And Canton has, and Brownstown both have extra millage for maintenance, just for, like we do. Canton tells me they hire some contractors to supplement. They do that on their own. Maybe it's the same thing, I don't know, but Brownstown also has its own vehicles that get out and plow the neighborhoods. But that's how I was curious. It's a good question. And if they come back next year with, we got to pay $90,000, that will really hurt us.
Well, you know, that's kind of been a thorn underneath my fingernail ever since I was on the road committee many years ago, and that came up. Because I don't feel like we should be paying the county to maintain their roads, especially in the wintertime.
See, Les, I always assume because we're an island, not a community where people don't drive through, that somebody at some point offered that we'll come out and make sure your school bus routes are salted first and plowed. That's what I always assumed, because you are an island. Whereas if we were Allen Road or some major thoroughfare that's a through road, it would automatically be done. But that's what I assumed, but maybe that's very false.
Well, Bill, I remember there's times that I was coming back from someplace, like in Detroit, or someplace you come down Telegraph or 4th Street, and it's all snow. You get the Grosse Ile Parkway, and you're coming on the island. And this is before we gave them any money. It was already salted. You come up on the island, and there's salt all over the place. But those major roads didn't have anything on them. I could never figure that out. So before we gave them any money, they did give us priority service.
That's interesting.
Just a couple of comments.
Ted.
It is based on lane miles, and it's a kind of a rolling average, what they determine they have to spend on lane miles. There's been a number of board members over the years that absolutely refuse to vote for it because they are Wayne County roads. What would be the effect? I'll guarantee you the first year you won't see a snowplow for 3 days. After that, they might, after they get a little heat from us, I'm sure they'll stiffen up a little bit. But for the 35, I think the low I've seen in my tenure was about 19,000. The high's been close to 40. I'm sure if we set that money aside, we have a lot of contractors here that would do a good job, but you have to remember we have a lot of school bus routes that do need priority service the day of a storm. And I think Wayne County has done that. I think they've handled those routes the day of the storm. Now, I'm not saying maybe not first thing.
I think you're right.
But if they don't get here the day of the storm, we could be looking at some serious problems.
Yeah, well, I think they've been pretty good about the school bus routes. But it's a good question to ask if we're the only ones paying it. Why are we? And we will. Okay, thank you. Jim?
I'd like real quick to thank the Township Board for reappointing me for a new 3-year term. I must have done something right.
You did. You proved that tonight.
Showed up.
With the correction. Ron?
Just real quickly, I'm looking forward to getting this chip seal program off the ground. And I think that it's something that the citizens will really like, at least I certainly hope so. And I think it's a very good one possible solution to some of our road problems. And that's it.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just handed this hot off the press. The City of Trenton will be hosting a Wayne County scrap tire collection on Saturday, May 10th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Kennedy Ice Rink on West Road. Limit of 5 tires, no rims, and no electronics accepted. Evidently in the past they have, but not this year. And also, the Trenton Civic Commission and Trenton Rotary Club is sponsoring a Shred It Day for local communities on the same day, which would be Saturday, May 10th. Suggested donations are 1 to 2 boxes, $5 a box, and 3 or 4 boxes, $10 a box, 5 boxes and over, $20. I'm sorry, 1 to 2 boxes, $5, not $5 a box, and the same 3 to 4, $10 for the total, $5 or $20 for 5 boxes or more. And you can call 734-341-8768 and ask for Frank Weber if you have any questions regarding that. The only thing I wanted to add is to kind of piggyback on what Bill had mentioned. Governor Snyder happened to be on the island last night, and I heard him speak, and the first thing he talked about was roads. And talked about the need, first of all, that there is going to be money coming, more money coming for roads and for potholes. So hopefully we get that. But the need overall to do more with our roads, the fact that we've basically ignored our roads has caused them to go in, and I'm not talking Groseal, I'm talking Michigan, has caused the structure of the roads to go to the point where it needs major overhaul, which of course equates to major money. He came up with, he thought it would take something like $1.5 billion a year to get our roads back and keep them in good repair. Interestingly, one thing that he talked about was not just throwing money at our roads, but maybe looking at how the specs of what we do maybe have to change. Because the question keeps coming up, why do they deteriorate so fast? I mean, Michigan isn't that much unlike Ohio and other states around, and yet our roads are much worse. So hauling, the load limits. He talked about a number of things, but I thought it was interesting that he talked about actually the specs and the material that we use might have to change. The people in the state legislature are working on it, and hopefully they come up with a fix for us. And that's it.
So you just got that from Trenton tonight, just handed to you?
Well, maybe a little earlier
Okay.
than that. Maybe this afternoon I got it handed to me.
Just one final question for Lorinda. Can you maybe John knows about it too, can you give us an update of what they found on Gray's? Why Gray's is going to be closed? Or Gray's is closed?
Yes, Grace Drive is closed between Rivard Court and Cadillac Circle. They found some voids under the road there where part of the sections had sunk about 18 inches. They had planned to do the work starting yesterday, but due to the fact that we had the power outage and the bridge was closed, they didn't get to block the road off until today. The repairs, they're to be done this week. The road will be probably closed for about a week, they said, depending on the weather.
Okay, well, school's going to be closed next week, so hopefully they'll get it done this week, so by the time school opens, they can reopen the Gray's as it serves the high school.
Yeah. Big drop. They don't know. There's a drop in the road there.
I think there's a number of them, isn't there? I mean, there's more than one.
There's 3 voids that they found, yes, under the road.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Support.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.